Morning Glory, America. Evening Grace. I'm Hugh Hewitt in Studio West. I'm glad to welcome you all on a day of great significance. There is a hostage deal in Israel. There are confirmations on hearings on the Hill. There is a high fire warning, wind warning in effect in L.A. And I'm joined by John Cornyn, Senator from the great state of Texas. Senator, welcome. I want to begin by apologizing for Ohio State beating your Longhorns. Sorry about that, Senator.
They were pretty awesome, unfortunately, and there's always next year. Arch Manning will be at the helm, and so next year I'm hoping will be a better outcome.
I am too. Senator, can you tell us about the Pam Bondi hearings? I will talk about the hostage deal after the break, but that's going to unfold over 42 days, and there are a lot of ifs. But the Pam Bondi hearing, it may be underway. How's it going?
It was very good. Actually, I think Pam Bondi is supremely qualified for this job. As you know, she's a former state attorney general, a job I held in Texas. We actually had 5 former attorney generals on the panel. And so we know she has that kind of experience. Before that, she was a prosecutor, prosecuted all kinds of cases. So from a legal qualification standpoint, she could not be better. But here's the thing that I'm most concerned about, Hugh, and I bet you feel the same way. Under the previous administration and dating back to President Trump's first administration, we've seen a perversion of justice in our country where the justice system was basically had a double standard, one for Donald Trump and one for the Biden family, including President Biden. And Pam Bondi, I believe, will restore this very important institution to a non-political operation, which I think is absolutely critical because to me, it's been one of the biggest tragedies of the last 6 years or so.
I was obliged by Fox News, and I was happy to do it, to write a piece on the Joe Biden legacy and his achievements. And President Biden, sadly, has nothing to brag about, and he's making stuff up right now. But the worst thing, and I'll argue this out with Comfortably Smug a little bit later, the very worst thing was the weaponization of the Department of Justice. That's never happened before. How do you get rid of that, Senator? What would you advise Pam Bondi to do?
Well, you need to change the leadership because it starts at the top. And that also applies to the FBI. We know what James Comey did to Hillary Clinton. So it was a bipartisan affront to justice. He basically said, I don't trust Loretta Lynch, so I'm going to go out and tell all the things we found in our investigation and say no reasonable prosecutor would prosecute her when that simply was not his job or not his prerogative. But this carried over into the first Trump term where Comey was hell-bent to get a special prosecutor appointed, a special counsel, which he did, which basically ate up about 2 years of President Biden's first term. And based on what? Based on opposition research that Hillary Clinton had accumulated, which then became the grist for Russiagate and the Crossfire Hurricane operation. So I think both Kash Patel and Pam Bondi are committed to restoring the FBI and the Department of Justice to its previous nonpartisan, equal justice orientation, and it couldn't come a day too soon.
Senator Cornyn, one of the great achievements of Donald Trump in his first term were the number, not just the 3 Supreme Court justices and the 50 appeals court justices, but all the judges that he appointed. Do you expect the conveyor belt to ramp up again with, of course, doing serious oversight on the nominees? There was one rejected, I believe, under Donald Trump by the Senate. But do you expect it to go? I think there are 4 or 5 vacancies on the circuits waiting to be filled.
Yeah, there are 8 in Texas alone, 8 district court judges in Texas, but the circuit courts obviously are even more significant because they cover multi-state jurisdictions. But yeah, I think the Democrats during the Biden term, they were playing from our playbook and something that we were able to accomplish during President Trump's first term. And I'm particularly excited about the fact that we were able to confirm 3 new Supreme Court justices. I think President Trump will have a chance to fill 1 or 2 more seats on that court before he's through, which is going to be a permanent legacy.
If a justice were to retire, and they were thinking about retirement, and I have no idea. I don't know Justice Alito. I only know Justice Thomas a little bit. It's not like the Chief Justice and I. We worked in the White House years ago. I would hope they would do it at the end of this term, not at the end of next year's term. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have any insight into that, but I know that Justice Kennedy was persuaded to retire early so that Justice Kavanaugh could be confirmed. So I think those conversations presumably will occur if they haven't already occurred. And I think it's a great opportunity. If one of the justices is contemplating retirement at some point, then trying to figure out when makes the most sense in terms of our ability to get his successor confirmed just seems like an obvious decision.
If you were asked by President-elect Trump, Senator Cornyn, you've been doing this a long time, and you are a former justice of the Texas Supreme Court, what would be the upper age limit? I'm 68, so you can't offend me. I'm not going to become a judge anytime. But what would be the upper age limit you'd want to see in a nominee for the court?
Well, I'm older than you are, Hugh, by a little bit, and it certainly wouldn't be somebody like you or me. I think, there's plenty of outstanding candidates, younger judges who're serving, for example, on the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals that includes the state of Texas, that I think would be excellent choices. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of interest in those positions. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of opportunities for President Trump to make, again, another mark on the Supreme Court. But I would think certainly nobody in their 60s or 70s, maybe people in their 40s or 50s, seems like about a good age range.
So on my list, I've got David Strauss, I've got Amul Thapar, and I've got Don Willett. And they're all in their 50s. I think Strauss might be 50 and Amul Thapar 54 and Don Willett about 54. How about that? Are they too old, or is that okay by you?
Sounds about right to me.
All right. Now let me ask you about the nominees generally. Do you expect all of them to be confirmed? Because I predicted to a Legatus meeting last night, they're all going to be confirmed, and that includes Tulsi Gabbard. What do you think?
Yes, I think that's right. My own view is that the president, having won the election and received a mandate, is entitled to his team, absent some extraordinary circumstances. Now, I know Matt Gaetz decided to withdraw. I think he knew he was going to have a rough time, and that was his choice. But I would say the remaining people on the nominees are ones that I think will likely be confirmed. I think Tulsi Gabbard did herself a big favor the other day when she told James Langford she would support reauthorization of Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance
Amen.
Act. I always tell people this is the most important law you've never heard of, but I know you have, and you're very familiar with it. This comprises what 702 produces provides 60% plus of what's in the presidential daily brief. So it's absolutely essential to our national security. And I think John Ratcliffe at the CIA, Kash Patel, the FBI, and Pam Bondi and Tulsi Gabbard are now on board with that law.
What did you make of Pete Hegseth's performance yesterday?
I thought it was stellar. I've known Pete for quite a while when he first started coming to the Hill and doing advocating for veterans. And then, of course, he went on to become famous on Fox. But I know he's committed to our men and women in uniform. We need to shake up the Pentagon. We spend almost $1 trillion a year on defense, but I'm not convinced we're spending it in the smartest, most efficient, most effective way. It takes too long for us to get some of these weapon systems in place. And now with the advent of incredible technology like we're seeing used in Ukraine with drones replacing a lot of the other manned aircraft and other weapon systems, I think we need to do more to leverage the private sector, our incredible technological advantage that want to help if we'll just provide a means for them to get an opportunity.
Well, I'm not a lobbyist, but I want to take the opportunity, Senator, to say I hope you guys get back to the AM radio in every vehicle act, because I'm depending on AM radio as California's on fire. And I also really hope that you attach strings to any federal aid you send to California. And by strings, I mean clear out this absolutely dysfunctional government. Do you think you will attach strings to it? Do you think the AM radio in every vehicle act is going to be back and pass?
Yeah, I don't think there will be, and there has never been, to my knowledge, a grant of money in disaster relief without some strings attached. And in terms of having radios in vehicles, I think this is something that has a public safety component, which you and others have pointed out. It's not just listening to the radio and entertainment, it's public safety. And so I expect that to be the primary focus.
I really appreciate your joining me today for an update from the Senate, Senator John Cornyn.